Here we have the initial setup for the Battle of Antietam. Antietam is one of the scenarios of the Musket Battles system by Command Post Games. Ordinarily, when doing a video, I play with the labels facing up for the benefit of all to see. However, today I thought I'd play the way you ordinarily would set up, which means only you can see the labels of your units until they become spent in combat and are exposed to the enemy. Now the situation is that the Union Army has chased the Confederate Army up into this bottleneck here. The Potomac River flows all along here and it's coming just off the map here before it enters again here. So although the map ends here, there's really nowhere for the Confederate Army to go. The bridges have all been blown across the Potomac down here. Their only escape route is here and here. The Union Army is superior in numbers, but they of course have to cross the Antietam Creek, which can only be crossed at the bridges. And there's some fords up here too. Some fords, a couple of bridges, and there's some fords down here. Now in turn 3, this is Franklin's Corps, and Franklin's Corps will be entering. And on turn 5, this down here is A.P. Hill's division of Jackson's Corps, and they'll be entering then. One of the things I really like about the Musket Battle system is how clean it is. You don't have charts and tables laying around, you don't use them, they're not necessary. Makes for a relatively compact footprint. And the advantage of not having copious charts and tables scattered about and other game aids is that I find those always pull me out of the narrative. I want to get into the battle. So let's begin. As Burnside's 9th Corps crosses the middle bridge, it takes fire from Longstreet's artillery. Wilcox's division reels under the heavy fire and falls back across the bridge, throwing the rest of 9th Corps into confusion. And then Jackson's artillery opens up to finish the job. But Sturgis's division is unfazed, and they hold the ground. At the end of the first turn, Pleasanton's cavalry is covering the southern crossings. The Union artillery has moved onto the hilltops. And over here on the Union right, Hooker's 1st Corps hits the Confederate lines. With some difficulty, Jackson's troops throw back Hooker's men. And now it becomes mid-morning. In the mid-morning, Longstreet's artillery once again opens up on Burnside's lead units. This time they break, and they go scuttling back, pushing the entire corps ahead of them. Burnside reacts quickly. He falls back, orders his bags to unpack, and with a wave of his hand, his corps recovers. Oh, I forgot. As a further fog of war effort, rather than turning the label up, you simply turn it upside down. Now your opponent may remember that he's flipped some units to spent, but he doesn't always recall where exactly those units are, or if those are the units right in front of him. Sumner's 2nd Corps crosses the Antietam, and now Jackson's artillery opens up on them. He does some damage, but he doesn't know how much, and they are still there. The Union artillery opens up on the Confederate artillery. Confederate artillery is thrown into confusion and pulled off the hill. More Union artillery opens up. The Confederates hold. And now things get serious on the Union right. First we have Mansfield's 12th Corps attempting to silence the Confederate artillery. Mansfield's corps has been destroyed. Next, Porter's corps drives on the West Woods. What could possibly go wrong? Porter's men were able to drive the skirmishers in, but they were driven back ultimately. And again, Hooker assaults on the far right. This time, Jackson's men fall back. And now it's turn 3, late morning. Union artillery fires across the Rohrbach Bridge, though the dug-in Confederate troops seem to be unaffected. And here's the situation late morning. Franklin's 6th Corps has come up the Boonesboro Pike. On the Union left, there seems to be a shuffling repositioning of troops, possibly in coordination with this bold attack here, but the problem with bold attack is they often fall afoul. Here, lead elements of Sumner's 2nd Corps have been surrounded, and they're probably not going to make it through this combat. On Union right, the push continues. First off, action at Longstreet's center. And next, we move over to the Union right. We start with Porter's assault. Porter is driven back with heavy losses, but there's a hole in the line. Now Hooker's men. In the center, Jackson is thrown back with heavy casualties. Last push on the Union far right. Hooker's exhausted troops fall back. You can only push men so hard. Now we move to turn 4. midday. The first thing that happens is Union artillery on the hill rakes the Confederates in front of them, driving them back. Now here in midday combat, the whole front is lit up. Pleasanton has sent a division of cavalry across the lower ford, while Sumner's 2nd Corps strikes them from the side and drives forward. Burnside's 9th Corps is pushing on through. Here in the Union right, they continue to drive to push. The bags must be back here somewhere, unpacked. They don't know where. But here, Porter's men have been flanked. Now, South decides the order of combat. First combat South decides is going to be their flanking attack here. Heavy losses on both sides. Hood's Texans are able to fall back, though spent. More Burnside Corps hits Longstreet, south of Sharpsburg. In desperate fighting, both fight to complete exhaustion and are removed. Sumner's drive on Longstreet's flanking men. And that was Evans' brigade of Longstreet's corps. It was able to stop Sumner's men cold, but it is exhausted and out of combat. Here we have Jackson's flank of the Union drive. And the last existing formation of Porter's corps has seen its final day. Hooker's drive in the center was stopped by Stuart's cavalry. How does this go? As one might expect, they did their job. They stopped the drive and then fell back. And over here we have a very exhausted elements of Hooker's 1st Corps, driving on Jackson's left flank. The combat is indecisive, though some of Hooker's men still hold the field. Now we still have one more combat over here across the lower bridge. The cavalry secures the crossing and takes the hills, while the combating infantry flees, disrupting elements in their route. And now it's turn 5, mid-afternoon. Now we can see the South has their backs to the wall on the north end of the battlefield, the Union right. But all that's left is Hooker's corps, and it is quite exhausted. Somewhere back here are the bags. But General Hooker doesn't feel he can push his men without a rest. He's going to have to unpack bags. Here on the Union left, they also are exhausted. But Longstreet's corps has taken some heavy losses, and they're in a bad position. The emphasis, the action, switches to the Union left. Last turn, Stuart raced up here to stabilize this situation. Now Lee calls him south to stabilize Longstreet's world. Down they go. Union artillery opens up on Stuart's cavalry. Cavalry hold their position, but not without some loss. The other Union artillery, having moved down to this hill, opens up on the forlorn retreating troops that cross the Antietam here, driving them back across the Antietam. You know what? I'm going to invent a rule right now. I don't think it's realistic that you can retreat across a ford or a bridge. That's absolute chaos. So I'm going to eliminate these units, not because they all died to a man, but because they all had to leave their equipment behind, and that's just too much. Alright, mid-afternoon. This block here are the unpacked bags. Longstreet mounts a valiant defense. Franklin's 6th Corps came rushing up into the center. 2 blocks ran into White's cavalry brigade there, and joined the Maelstrom, right here, on Hooker's left. The flanked Union attack on the Confederate right. The initial cavalry charge meets with heavy losses, and the rest of the cavalry falls back. Franklin's drive in the center is facing White's cavalry detachment, and they simply fall back. Now here we have kind of a confused maelstrom of combat. The way I do this is I go by individual defender. So the South can pick. Do you want to fight against this defender first, or this defender here that's getting flanked? Now this attack is flanked also because they're attacking the rear. So the best chance is to go for this flank attack first. They're now destroyed. Now we've got this outflanking. This is going to be terrible. Here we have D.H. Hill's drive on Ricketts' spent Green Division. This shouldn't go well for them. Each do 1. 1 counts as 2. On the Green Division is spent. Off it goes. And now it's turn 6. Dinner time. In this bare-knuckle brawl, which is how the Battle of Antietam was described, both sides are very close to breaking. This is tight for the Union. One more push could win them the game, but there's no attacking without casualties. One more push could lose them the game as well. Longstreet's artillery wheels to the left and rakes Sumner's division. The lead elements take it on the chin and are driven off. Union artillery fires at their Confederate troops opposite. Confederate troops hold their position. Union artillery, newly positioned on this hill, Fires at the only thing they can see, which is some Confederate cavalry. Sending it off, which now opens a way for Franklin's drive. He has contacted the Beggs. If he can drive off the artillery, the Beggs are left open. The Union wins. But first, we've got some other combats. Now the South thinks the Union's close to breaking, so before they do that combat, they're going to do every other combat they can and try to eliminate as many Union units as possible and hopefully break the Union army before that combat occurs. It's an even fight. How's it go? Hood's Texans take some damage. The Union takes no damage, but they elect to retreat because they don't want to lose a unit. Now this combat. Outflanked. But can they destroy at least one Union unit? Nope, they're driven back, but they hold. And now the Union drive on the Beggs. Now the Confederates, if you're defending Beggs, you can't be outflanked. So it's just a straight up combat. They both do 2 damage. There you have it. Union contacting the Beggs. Panic ensues. The Confederate troops rout. McClellan has won Antietam. And that was a very good game. Now if the Union had lost one more block, they would have broke. That would have been 12 blocks. The Confederates were close. They need 8 to break, and they'd lost 6. That's why it's probably my favorite pub battle scenario, because it comes right down to a white knuckle end every time. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.